Welcome to this edition of Head to Head. I'm your host, Cam McKinney, and this is episode number 334 of the podcast. And on this episode, I'm talking about former star catcher Buster Posey becoming president of baseball operations for his former team, the San Francisco Giants. Buster Posey was an all-time great Giant player. His 158 career home runs is 13th in franchise history. His 729 runs batted in is 11th. His 1,500 hits is 7th, and his .302 batting average is 6th all-time for a San Francisco Giants player. And more than that, he's one of the franchise's winningest players, helping the team get 3 World Series championships. Posey was a Rookie of the Year, 7-time All-Star, 5-time Silver Slugger Award winner, MVP Award winner, and won a batting title and a Gold Glove. Posey's stats, while stellar, were affected by the fact that the catcher retired at 34 years of age, and he ended his career on a high note, batting .304, the highest batting average ever for a catcher in their final season. Now, 3 years later, he's back with the Giants in a new position, president of baseball ops, and it's been a rough few years for the San Francisco Giants. They've been a 500 or close to 500 team each of the last 3 seasons. In Posey's final year as a player, they won 107 ball games. The Giants' hiring of Buster Posey got me thinking about other great players coming back to the teams that they played for to run their front office. And one name is John Elway, who did win a Super Bowl when he was in charge of the Broncos. He got Peyton Manning to go there. Magic Johnson ran the Lakers in what I would call a chaotic time for the franchise, although he did land LeBron James to come. An underrated name is Joe Dumars, who as an executive built a Pistons team that won an NBA Finals, went to another, and was in the Eastern Conference Finals 6 straight years in a row. One of the most successful names I could come up with is Jerry West, the logo. He was running the Lakers during the Showtime era with Magic and Kareem, and then when Shaq and Kobe were there. Being the architect of 2 dynasties, not bad. One hockey example I came up with is Cam Neely, who is still the team president of the Boston Bruins. He has, of course, won a Stanley Cup with the Bruins as an executive. And I really couldn't come up with an example in baseball like this. Really does feel like a first. Like this would be if Derek Jeter went to become the president of the New York Yankees. Like it was never going to happen. Jeter, instead of becoming an executive, became an owner for the Marlins for a few years. I believe the risk here is that the failure can change how the fan base views this particular person. Now, in the case of Buster Posey, I find it very hard to believe that no matter how bad Buster Posey could be at this job, that it would ever affect his overall legacy with the franchise. Again, we are talking about a guy who is a 3-time World Series champion. But one thing I do know about fan bases in sports is that they love to critique the man running the front office, and now that is one of your most franchise's beloved players in Buster Posey. To get back to Derek Jeter for a minute, I always viewed Posey as a Derek Jeter type figure. I mean, the minute he walked in the door with San Francisco, they began to win. Like he was just a winning ball player. So I have absolutely no idea if hiring Posey is the right decision or not. He could end up being really good in the role. He could end up being really bad. But I do have a theory as to why the Giants wanted to make this move. I believe the San Francisco Giants wanted to make a splashy move. They lost out on Aaron Judge a few years ago when he was a free agent. Remember all that talk? We all thought for a minute that maybe Aaron Judge was going to leave the New York Yankees to join the San Francisco Giants. That didn't happen. Aaron Judge stayed with the Yankees. And then that exact same offseason, they walked away from shortstop Carlos Correa. They have become a franchise begging for star power. They have given us basically almost nothing to talk about the last few seasons. So I believe Buster Posey being a big name had something to do with the fact that he got this job. Him being a Hall of Fame level player for the organization, a figure that will get people like me talking about it. Like I wouldn't have cared if they hired some random guy to be the president of baseball operations, but I'm talking about it right now because they hired Buster Posey, arguably the best catcher of of his generation. Yes, I think there's a part of that organization that wants to compete with the Dodgers and Padres, who are repeatedly making big splash free agent signings, but they haven't been able to get that big free agent. So what did they do? They go to within their organization and they go, well, maybe we won't be able to get that star player, but what if we got a star executive in Buster Posey? And I do believe that moves the needle, that gets people talking about Buster Posey. You're already hearing a lot of people give their opinions about whether or not this was a good decision or a bad decision. But you know what? It gets people talking because it's Buster Posey. We are living in a time with all of these important jobs in sports where we go, is this guy really qualified to hold this position? I think the other big example going on right now is the Lakers hiring J.J. Redick to be their head coach. J.J. Redick was really good on TV. I think he's a good basketball mind. I think he might work out as head coach of the Lakers. But I don't know. I can just give my opinion. And I feel the exact same way about Buster Posey. Like, I can see where the Giants would come to this decision. Oh, we're going through a bit of a down point anyway. We need to start rebuilding. Let's give the fan base this guy that they love and adore. And really what the Giants want here is a face of the organization, which they haven't had since Buster Posey retired. They have had some good players, but they have not had a player who is synonymous with the San Francisco Giants the way that Buster Posey was. So other than him coming out of retirement to play, this is the biggest thing they could have done, which is make Buster Posey the face of their baseball operation. And whether he has success or failure, there will be people out there who's just going, oh, this guy is really just a figurehead. How much of the job is he actually doing? We've heard it time and time again with these kind of hires. We are going to find out right away what kind of baseball team Posey wants to build. The Giants have already re-signed third baseman Matt Chapman. The real question is, will they retain starting pitcher Blake Snell, who went 5-3 with a 3.12 ERA starting 20 games last year? I like Blake Snell as a pitcher. He is a multiple-time Cy Young Award winner. I don't know what kind of long-term contract he's really worth, though. Like, if the Giants gave that guy $200 million, I don't know if I would love that deal or not. But I do believe the Giants should build their roster around veteran starting pitching. Like, they have a really good ace-type level pitcher in Logan Webb. He is one of baseball's underrated pitchers. So what they should do is they should have Logan Webb, they should look to re-sign Blake Snell, and they should also go after former Cy Young Award winner Corbin Burns. It's easier to develop young offensive players than it is to develop elite level starting pitching. And that is one way you could compete with the Dodgers and the Padres. If you had a rotation that includes Logan Webb, Blake Snell, and Corbin Burns, now you're talking. You can be a close to 85 to 90 win ball club. Yes, you might also be looking at the Giants and saying, well, they also need to get that big bat. Well, I think that's a scary proposition for the San Francisco Giants. So let's say they bring in Pete Alonso, a guy who has had a season where he has hit over 50 home runs. Well, here's a scary fact for you. The Giants haven't had a player hit 30 or more home runs since Barry Bonds hit 45 in 2004. Premier power hitters are not a good fit with the San Francisco Giants, mainly because of their ballpark. It has proven to be not so power friendly. I'll give you a perfect example. Jorge Soler in 2023 with Miami hits 36 home runs. Last year, he mainly plays with the San Francisco Giants and only hits 23 home runs. Now, he was traded to Atlanta, but he didn't reach 30 home run mark because he was playing in that really big ballpark down in San Francisco. So them paying a crazy amount of money for a power hitter like Pete Alonso doesn't seem to make sense. I think they should double down on starting pitching. That is the way they compete with the Dodgers, they compete with the Padres, they compete with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Giants. I am interested to see if the Giants will be in at all on Juan Soto. I mean, he's going to be the prize free agent. He's had this unbelievable season with the Yankees where he's paired with Aaron Judge. Is he going to want to remain a member of the Yankees, or is this a guy who's just going to go to the highest bidder? And if the San Francisco Giants are the highest bidder, is he going to choose them? Juan Soto is a better fit than Pete Alonso because, well, yes, he does have really good power. He's also just a really good hitter in general. Like, he's not a guy who only makes an impact when he hits 40 home runs in a season. I think he would be a good fit for the Giants, although I would still be cautious with that team signing a guy like that to $500 million in that ballpark. Like, I just don't think their highest paid players should be position players. I really do believe they should be looking at all of the big free agent starting pitching. But I do go back to the fact that I do believe this is a team looking for a star position player. That's why I think they'll probably look into Pete Alonso. They'll look into Juan Soto. But what's interesting about that is that when the San Francisco Giants were winning those free World Series titles, other than Buster Posey, they did not have stars. They just had a really good team. Madison Bumgarner, Pablo Sandoval, Cody Ross at times, Edgar Renteria at times, Hunter Pence at times. I mean, that was a team built as a team. And now the team has kind of become obsessed with this idea, well, we need to get the Aaron Judges of the world. We need to get the Carlos Correas of the world. And I just wonder if that mentality is going to change now that Buster Posey is the man in charge. Like, we just don't know how Buster Posey feels about the modern day climate of baseball. Like, is he a guy who thinks, wow, if I get Juan Soto, this team becomes a winner? Or does he feel like he has to build the team from the ground up? Like, does Buster Posey in his heart-to-heart believe that the San Francisco Giants are a piece away from being the LA Dodgers, from being the San Diego Padres, from even being the New York Mets? The Giants right now have a manager in Bob Melvin who was always overachieving when he was the manager of the Oakland A's. Like, he was winning manager of the year. That team would make the postseason. But over the last few years, he has been managing some teams with really big expectations, mainly the San Diego Padres. He goes to the Padres. They underperform. Bob Melvin leaves. Mike Schilt becomes their manager, and they kind of overperform. So now I really don't know how to feel about Bob Melvin. My take is Bob Melvin does not really have a long-term future with the San Francisco Giants if this upcoming year doesn't go better than this past year. Like, if the Giants are 500 or below, again, I think he gets relieved of his duties. But I'm basing that on the fact that I believe that Buster Posey believes that the San Francisco Giants are going to be a better baseball team next year, and that's really going to come down to the team that Buster Posey builds. I loved Buster Posey as a player, but if I'm being honest, do I believe that this was the best hire that the Giants could do for president of their baseball operations? No, this hire has to do with the fact that he's a beloved figure, he's a future Hall of Famer. But one thing I am willing to do is give Buster Posey the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to sit back and watch the moves that he makes. Like, if he goes out and signs Blake Snell and signs Corbin Burns, I'm going to give him a boatload of credit because I believe those are the right moves for the organization right now if they want to compete. Yes, I think it's really interesting to talk about why the San Francisco Giants would want to make this hire, and I've already gone through that. What may be even more interesting is, why does Buster Posey want this job? His legacy with this franchise has already been cemented by his great playing career. Clearly, this is a guy who misses being a part of the sport of baseball on a regular basis, and he wants to have a larger impact on the franchise that he played for. And I do find that to be somewhat admirable because I feel like a lot of these guys want to have something to do with their former teams, but not a whole lot to do. He is putting himself out there. Like, if the San Francisco Giants are bad next season, there are going to be a lot of articles like, Buster Posey has absolutely no idea what he's doing. This is the dark ages for the San Francisco Giants. If they are really bad, he is putting himself out there in a way that you don't see former great players do. I mean, look, there are people that that are shocked that Tom Brady is putting himself on TV every Sunday. I mean, this is something different. This would be like if Tom Brady became the general manager of the New England Patriots. Now, that might be hyperbole. Buster Posey isn't as big in baseball as Tom Brady is in football, but you get my point. Like, this is a Hall of Fame figure for that organization. This is a guy who was the centerpiece of a team that won 3 World Series in 5 years. You think of Buster Posey, you think of winning. So now the fan base is going to go, oh, Buster Posey is back? We're going to start to win again. That's how they're going to simplify things, and it's more complicated than that. What we are going to see in the next year or two is, was this move a move just to put the Giants back in the spotlight for a minute? Oh, see, we have Buster Posey again talk about this, or is this an organization with an actual plan? This is the thing that bothers people about these kind of hires, though, is that these come out of nowhere. It's not like J.J. Redick, going back to the Lakers situation, was an assistant coach who then becomes a head coach, or Buster Posey was working in the Giants front office and then he becomes the head of baseball operations. No, Buster Posey was a part of ownership and then becomes president of baseball operations. Like, Buster Posey goes straight to getting the big job. And part of me understands why. Like, it's Buster Posey. Like, he's not going to be somebody's assistant. Like, the Giants had to go all in if they wanted Buster Posey to be a key member of their organization. So they gave him the key job. Now, he's going to hire a GM under him, but everyone is going to think of every move the Giants make and connect it back to Buster Posey. And the Giants want that. That's why they hired Buster Posey. And I've read some of the articles saying that he played a big hand in Matt Chapman re-signing with the San Francisco Giants. See, the Giants are already trying to make it seem like Buster Posey was building towards getting this position, that he's ready for this job. And maybe he is, but we're not going to find out about that until the offseason begins and we see the kind of moves that he makes. I'm rooting for Buster Posey to find success in this position because I think things could go really badly if they don't. Like, I do believe that the media is going to come down on Posey if the Giants become even more of a disaster. I mean, the last few years they've been a 500 team, a team you don't really pay attention to, a team that is an afterthought, and that's why I believe they hired Buster Posey, because they were sick and tired of being an afterthought. They want to be relevant again, and they were like, oh, this is a guy that people care about. This is a guy that the fan base cares about. This is a guy that we care about. And on one hand, I can understand that, but on the other hand, you go, there is no world where anyone within the San Francisco Giants believed that they hired the absolute best candidate for this job. When the Giants were winning those 3 World Series and when Barry Bonds was there, they had a face of their organization in their front office, and it was Brian Sabian. Like, he was the face of the organization. He brought all of those players in. And then they brought in Farhan Zahidi, who had been with the Oakland A's. He had been with the Dodgers. He brought in Gabe Kapler to be their manager. They felt like a newer organization that really cared about the analytics, but that didn't really work out long term. In my heart to heart, I believe that if the Giants landed Aaron Judge, they would not have made this hire. If they had kept Carlos Correa, they would not have made this hire. They were craving a star, and they got their own original star back in Buster Posey. That's what this move comes down to. Buster Posey is a key figure in their organization and a star that people still care about. And just because I feel that way doesn't mean I don't believe that it's possible that Buster Posey could bring back his winning ways to the San Francisco Giants. Maybe they could be one of the pleasant surprises of next year, but they're going to have to do some big moves in the offseason, whether that's bringing in the starting pitching that I've talked about, bring in a big bat. Like, they need to change their team up. Like, they need to be better on the field. I'll end the podcast on this. If this Buster Posey situation is a big success, you will see other teams do this. Go back into their history, bring back a beloved player, and make him the face of their front office. If it fails, you will likely never see it again because no star player will want to go through what Buster Posey went through. So I really am interested to see how the next 3 years goes for Buster Posey. I'm rooting for him. I love him as a player. I think he's one of the best catchers I've ever seen. He really is somebody who I view as a winner. I just never thought in my lifetime we would see him be the president of baseball operations for the team that he played for. But we're here, and I'm excited to see where it goes from there. It's also just so jarring how quickly it was from his playing days. Like, we're 3 years removed from him being 34 years old and being on the San Francisco Giants. Now he's the 37-year-old president of baseball operations. That's going to take me a little while to get used to. Posey has made his mark as a player. Now we will see if he can make his mark as an executive. Thanks for listening to this edition of Head to Head. I'm Cam McKinney, and there'll be a new episode of the podcast every Monday on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So please rate, review, and subscribe.